Hello and welcome to Montgomery County Police Beat. I'm Patrick Lacefield, Director of Montgomery County's Office of Public Information. We're here to discuss current community issues from the perspective of our county police force. Chief Manger, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure to be here.
You know, we were all terrifically saddened by the shootings in December at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. What has the department done working with the school system in the wake of that to assure students, parents, families that Montgomery County schools are as safe as they can be?
Well, on the day of the shooting, I was speaking with Dr. Starr, the superintendent, and we made sure that we had police officers at as many, in fact, maybe all of our elementary schools that afternoon, just to be seen there, just as a you know, a little measure of comfort for the parents as they came to pick up their children. But really, it's long term. We have been working with school security to make sure that we have a very active response plan should something occur in the schools. We have active shooter training, which goes right to the kind of tragedy that occurred up in Newtown. And it's just a matter of planning, you know, having the blueprints of the school so that in case we have to go in and search the school for someone, we know exactly, you know, where to look, and we know our way around the school. Training with the school security, all those things are things we've been doing for years. But we're talking with the school board and with school security now to say, okay, well, you know, how can we make sure that we know exactly what the schools are doing. I mean, they've really done a lot of things to harden the target in terms of locking the schools and, you know, creating systems where you have to be buzzed in and that sort of thing. So we're just continuing to work with them, trying to look at what the best practices are to make sure that our schools are safe and secure as they can be.
Now, I guess there's the broader issue, really, of guns. There are also mental health issues as well. But you're a leader in the Major Chiefs, Police Chiefs Association.
Yes.
What is the approach that the major chiefs take in terms of gun control in general, and I guess particularly with some of the changes that are being talked about at the federal level?
Well, we have, the Major City Chiefs Association has been asked by not only the Obama administration, but by members of Congress to offer input, suggestions, recommendations as to what they can look at in terms of gun legislation that might make our community safer. And there are a number of things I think we need to look at. Some of the things are so common sense you just wonder why they haven't been done already. You know, so we offered a whole list of suggestions of things that they need to look at, and you touched on really the two areas that we need to look. One are things that are directly related to guns and you know, making sure that we can make our community safer. The second issue is the mental health issue. I mean, we have long had legislation that says that folks that have certain mental health issues are not allowed to possess or buy firearms. But really, there's no way to adequately police that, if you will. There's no database that we can check, you know, to see if someone has mental health issues. I mean, you know, there's a law that prohibits convicted felons from having guns. Well, we can go and just type in a name and date of birth and know instantly whether this person is a convicted felon and whether they can buy or possess a handgun. We can't do that with folks with mental health issues. That's a huge issue.
And that's a confidentiality issue.
Absolutely. And so I think that's going to be a real tough nut to crack in terms of how we deal with that. But there are some measures I think you can deal with gun control that, again, very common sense and do not really, I think, restrict the Second Amendment in any way. A good example is you can buy ammunition over the internet. Well, I think that they should pass a law that says that there are no internet sales of ammunition, because how do I know who's buying that ammunition? And
could be a straw purchaser buying it for someone else.
Could be a person with mental health issues. You know, you just don't know. So making a person have to go in person to buy the ammunition, I think, is just a common sense measure. You know, you hear a lot of talk about the high capacity magazines. You know, you've got these magazines that will hold, you know, 20, 30 rounds. Well, the only folks that need them, in my opinion, are the military. They have a purpose in the military.
In other words, you aren't going to go deer hunting with them.
No, and armor-piercing bullets.
Right.
I mean, deer don't wear flak jackets. I mean,
Right.
you know, the only reason people would use an armor-piercing bullet is to shoot a police officer who might be wearing a vest. And you know, so I think outlawing that kind of ammunition, with the exception of the military,
Right.
you know, there's a use
Well, in
for it there.
specialized units, you have specialized units.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, you know, there may be some use for law enforcement in the military, but not for. I think it makes sense not to have that available to the average person out in the community. It just makes this community safer if we know that kind of ammunition is not out there. So there are a lot of common sense things that can be done. There are a lot of very controversial things that the administration is looking at. But what I appreciate is the fact that the president, that the leaders in Congress, I think that there's a political will to do something, and they're asking for suggestions and recommendations from everybody, from the NRA to folks in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're looking for this input before they make their recommendations. And it's going to be tough. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of consensus with the suggestions that we're giving. I mean, the notion that you know, the best way to deal with the school safety is to arm teachers and arm principals. I mean, I think that's ludicrous. You know, these are folks that, first of all, they elected to go into a very noble profession, perhaps one of the most noble professions
And many of them, and several of them, gave their lives.
Absolutely. You know, they did not ask to be police officers. If they wanted to be cops, they could have been a cop. They wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
God bless them. We're so fortunate to have such great
Right.
teachers. Don't ask them to arm themselves and all of a sudden put themselves in harm's way.
Right.
You know, in a situation where the police ought to be the ones
Right.
to do that job.
Right. Now, there's some people who say, look, if you control guns, the bad guys will still find ways to get guns. Now, I've always found this a little ludicrous, because you can't control everyone, and you don't have perfection, therefore you shouldn't do anything. But I mean, isn't it true that if you have some of these common sense sort of things, you're making it more difficult for bad guys to get guns? And moreover, some of the people who are bad guys, you know, are perhaps not the sharpest pencils in the cup. So therefore, making something a little harder, a little more difficult, can make a difference.
It can make a difference, and it gives you know, it gives law enforcement additional tools. I mean, if we've been able to prevent many, I think many a tragedy, because we've had some of these laws on the books where we go. You know, we'll arrest someone for you know, maybe a more minor crime. We serve a search warrant, you know, during that investigation, and find out that this individual is illegally possessing assault weapons or other weapons that they're not allowed to possess. The fact that these weapons and certain things would be made illegal would be additional tools that law enforcement can use in the course of investigations to get some of these things off the street. Listen, I've heard, I mean, you know, you ban high-capacity magazines. They say, okay, what are you going to do about the millions of high-capacity magazines that are already out there? Well, you know, you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And in fact, if we do this, you know, perhaps future generations aren't going to have to deal with the things that we're dealing with, because those things will be gone by that time.
Now, for some years, Montgomery County has had police officers in some of the schools, known as school resource officers.
Right.
I think when this program started a dozen years ago or so, there may have been as many as 30. I think they were federally funded at the beginning, or at least there was matching money from the federal government, which then went away. Over some of the budget difficulties we've had over the last number of years, those have been whittled down, I think, to around 6. Do you have some assessment of how valuable those officers have been? What kinds of things are they doing in the schools?
Well, I think they're tremendously valuable, and you're right. At one time, we had one for every high school, and I was thrilled to have those cops out there, because they really do. I think first and foremost, they provide for a safe learning environment for our kids. You know, there are some folks who think that, gee whiz, why do we need, you know, our schools so bad that we need police officers in our schools? Well, the answer is no. It's not. It's not because the schools are bad. I mean, you do it for a combination of things. One, you want to make the school campus itself safe.
Right.
You want to make sure that if something goes on in the school, that you have a quick response.
So an early warning system.
Exactly. And you can't imagine, especially when you get these great SROs in the schools, and they develop relationships with the kids and earn their trust. And we get information all the time about, well, you know, I heard so-and-so was talking about that they broke into some houses over the weekend, and we end up closing burglaries. You know, I heard so-and-so say that someone brought a gun into school. We've had things like this occur,
right.
and we end up, you know, seizing guns and getting them before something bad happens. You know, the officers are not there to arrest the students in the school for every minor violation.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
In fact, they actually have very few situations where they have to arrest anyone, and it's usually very serious things when it does occur. They're there to make sure that everybody's safe, and that's why I think you need to have the right sort of personality to be
right.
a school resource
right.
officer.
It's not for everyone.
It's not. I will tell you, I don't think I'd have made a very good school resource officer because I'm not sure I would have had the patience to deal with it. Now that I'm a dad, and I've you know, you deal with kids, I think you probably can do a better job.
Right. But as a young police officer,
as a young police officer with no kids, I
right.
don't know that I'd have made a very good
right.
SRO. But we've got some terrific ones, and as you said, we've got 6. I think the county executive and I have spoken, and he would like to start building that number up again. He's been very supportive of the school resource officer program, but it is oftentimes just, you know, one of those things where you've got to have room in the budget for it,
right.
because first and foremost, you got to have people responding to 911 calls. Having somebody in the schools is good, but it's a nice to do, not a have to do. So,
right.
but again, the county executive wants to start building those numbers up again.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, Chief, thanks for all the terrific work that you're doing.
Sure.
And I'm Patrick Lacefield here with Montgomery County Police Chief Tom Manger. Thanks for watching, and please join us again next month for another edition of Montgomery County Police Beat.
So I didn't cross in the crosswalk. Is that legal?
Legal or not, crossing the street outside of a crosswalk.
Yes, you can cross the street. However, there's a lot of laws preventing you from crossing the street, because when you do cross the street, not within a crosswalk, you have to yield the right of way to oncoming traffic. So if a driver is coming down the road at you and they have to brake, they have to swerve, you've now violated the law. And at that point, you would be issued a citation. It's important that you go to crosswalks because there are traffic control signals there that traffic engineers have created to make sure that you get across the street as safely as possible. When we've stopped the majority of people jaywalking, if you would call it, the main reason they're doing it is to save time. And what we want people to think about is the 2 minutes you save today, tomorrow it could be the end of your life. If another driver doesn't see you and hits you, or if you have your family with you crossing against a not in a crosswalk or against a signal, they could also be hurt, injured, or killed.
Well, what I found out is it's actually not illegal to cross the street outside of a crosswalk. But if I were to get hit by one of these cars outside of a crosswalk, the driver would not be at fault. I would be. It's better to cross in a crosswalk because people can see you and the drivers expect you to be there. And as Lieutenant Frank pointed out, you might save a couple minutes running across the street, but those minutes might actually save your life.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.